live stream here on Twitch and lichess.org. It's myself along with our mascots Micro Panda. Hello, hello. And the Macro Panda. These guys are scrub pandas filling in for our usual panda. Hello. But Panda himself, Panda. These are pandas, not pandas. Panda is in Budapest, holding down the fort over there as we're back in the United States. So today is our subscriber stream, guys. I'd like to thank all of you for joining me as we're getting back to streaming in the United States. Benchwarming Pandas, the Red Sox, huh? Man, I almost had a heart attack last night when my Red Sox barely held on to beat the Houston Astros. Don't talk about benchwarming. I almost peed my pants. They almost blew it, but they're winning, Mr. Coffee. So anyway, guys, we're doing the subscriber stream today. It's subscriber stream. You guys can submit games if you are subscribers to the stream. I'm also gonna follow a suggestion of Tushar Kamde, who I'm not sure he's gonna make it, but he suggested that I submit a game. He suggested that we have basically kind of a lesson, almost like, you know, a kind of lesson where basically I submit a game. I think it's a cool idea. We got a cheer actually from Spectacular Camel. Micro Panda is a fan of H3. It's not quite H4. Oh, Mr. Coffee's a Phillies fan. Yeah, we're both from the region, the Philadelphia area originally. I was a Phillies fan when I was a kid. Remember when they won the World Series when I was little. But we moved on to New England. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna start the stream with the game analysis of my own. So we're gonna take out the first game and make it mine. So here we go, guys. It is by the way, Spectacular Camel again. Thank you for the donation. What's that? 4 bits. We've got 4 bits. How much is a bit? Is it like, I don't remember my Western currency. 1980 was a long time ago, Mr. Coffee. I don't know if you remember that, man. I remember Steve Carlton pitching, and the Phillies were good. But I went to some Phillies games when I was a little kid. Veterans Stadium. But anyways, yeah, I'm old enough to remember that. 39 now. Guys, this is our analysis feature game of the subscriber stream. Maggie versus Carrie from AltaBox 2018. Basically, this is like the last one of the last long games that Magnus played against Caruana, and I just for fun I called it Maggie versus Carrie. And this is from the AltaBox tournament 2008. I thought just in honor of the World Championship match coming up, we're going to take a look at, you know, a recent game that Carlsen played against Caruana. This is again from Norway, 2018. You've been to the Veterans Stadium quite a few times too. Back to the chess, guys. So Carlsen versus Caruana. This was from 2018. I think that, you know, Magnus and Carlsen both, Magnus and Caruana are both going to play a lot of E4, presumably. JCS, welcome to the stream. But anyways, it's the Bishop's opening. I mean, we see Caruana playing white. I think we're going to see maybe Magnus playing the black side of the Spanish, most likely. He can play other stuff too, but that's maybe one of the main things we might expect from the World Championship match. However, with white, Magnus does play this sometimes, this Bishop's opening. And he played it on 2 occasions at least. I don't know how many occasions he's played it. At least 2 I can remember against Caruana. He lost another one. They had another crazy game in like 2015 where Magnus went kind of berserk. Same variation now. Knight f6, d3, c6, and then knight f3. That's not the only move that white can play, I guess, but it's like the main move. You can play bishop b3, maybe knight c3. I don't know what's wrong with knight c3. There's something wrong with that. Queen e2. This is another move I've seen. Guys, please subscribe to support the stream, as Moobot is saying there. But again, this is Carlsen versus Caruana, 2018 from Norway. Knight f3, now d5. I think the c6, you know, setup. It's obviously there's an option Black could try to play. Let's say like a 2 knights defense or transpose the 2 knights defense. But c6 is kind of the most popular. c6, now d5, and bishop b3, d5, bishop b3. And here, I don't know. I always thought like bishop d6 was the normal way to play. I guess that's the main line. Just securing e5. But I remember in the chess informant some years ago, maybe Tibiakov, I don't know, somebody had a game with white where black played a5. And that's kind of an interesting idea. Actually, Caruana plays that later in the game. But you can try to play it really early to kind of mess with that bishop on b3. That's a provocative variation. Here's Kasparov versus Bareyev from 1993. I mean, that's weird. I didn't realize that Gary actually played the bishop's opening. I don't think he ever played it much, but he was messing around with weird stuff back in those days. He tried the Evans Gambit, for example. If you guys can send me some lemons for my beer. c6 allows white to wait for c3, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't have to play c3 too early. Excuse me, I just clicked on the wrong button. Here we are, but Caruana plays bishop b4 check, which is an interesting move, like kind of provocative move. You would expect c3 here. Magnus actually played that and lost. You can see there's a game 2014. Excuse me. So 2014 Carlsen versus Caruana. Carlsen went nuts. He sacked a piece. It was an insane game. You should check that out on your free time. Very entertaining game. Caruana played brilliantly to beat him in 2014. But instead, Carlsen plays like bishop d2 here. I thought this was a brilliant game. You know, I honestly don't think white really has an advantage here. But that's kind of part and parcel for Caruana and Carlsen. For Carlsen. He doesn't need an opening advantage. An equal position will do. You know, so knight takes d2 and then a5. I think this is a perfectly good move. Look at the score. There's a slight problem with the Chess Opening Explorer here that this game is not in there. Interesting statistic. Caruana obviously following statistics there. How relevant is, I don't know, 14 games? Black hadn't lost a single game until, you know, the game in question. So Caruana plays the statistics and a5, but I think this is a very aggressive move. I don't see why you have to play a5, just like castles or bishop g4. Bishop g4 is very solid, despite its bad score. I don't really see a problem with bishop g4. Other moves like queen c7, it's a little like a Tory attack. But Caruana here playing a5 and then c3, and now knight on bd7. And this is interesting. Carlsen here does something I think is weird. He plays e takes d. Gives up his strong point on e4. Guys, again, this is a Carlsen game from a game with Caruana from 2018. Their most recent like classical game I can think of. I guess they played probably once since then, but one of their more recent classical games. So e takes d. I mean, that seems strange to give up the strong point and kind of risky. But what Carlsen's doing is he's like he's dynamizing the position, basically. He's imbalancing the position is the word I'm looking for. Giving up his strong point in the center to create imbalance. It's interesting. Pawn takes pawn, castles. Some frontal pressure on this pawn here. Watch this. Castles, rook e1. And this looks like no big deal, this game. You know, it really, actually, there's a couple games. Lawrence Cooper against Banus from 2011. Banus a much stronger player than Lawrence Cooper, so he won. But objectively, the position's about equal position. So they're following the Banus here. Knight f1, and there's another game. I don't know who these guys are, like correspondence players. b5. Way white could have played like bishop a4 there, but it looks okay to play the way Carlsen plays. b5, and now this gets interesting. Check this out. b5, a4. And Caruana plays b4. I don't know what he's supposed to do. And watch what happens. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. What's going on here, you know, strategically? I mean, it looks like, wow, okay, black has the bigger pawn island. 5 pawns. Hey, healthy pawn island. White has, like, you know, 3 pawn islands. Black has 2. So in the pure sense of pawn structure, okay, black is slightly better, right? Maybe it's not so simple. Carlsen has an outside pawn. That's kind of money in the bank. And the other thing is that Caruana's pawn is isolated on b4, and it seems like something of a target. Watch what happens in this game. Caruana goes, I'm sorry, Carlsen. It's so hard. Their names start with CA. That's annoying. Both of them. You know, 93 here, and then d4. This is freaking brilliant. I mean, he could have played knight f5, and that looks very tempting to play for this. You got like queen d2 hitting the pawn, maybe queen g5 for this very primitive sort of frontal attack. But check out what Carlsen did. I mean, some of you might have seen this game. You think Carlsen mentioned this b4 is too far advanced? Yeah, I mean, it basically kind of decided the game. But, you know, 99 out of 100 players wouldn't even come up with what Carlsen did here. This is insane, dude. He plays like d4. And he literally sacrifices a pawn for Nimzovician blockade and control of the position. I mean, he makes Caruana look silly, basically. E4, and then knight e5, sacking a pawn. This is brilliant, you know? Guys, please support the stream. We're taking a look at Carlsen versus Carlsen versus Caruana. I keep doing that. From 2018 Alta Box. Dude, Caruana could have sacked an exchange here with rook takes e5, but he didn't have the cojones to do that. I mean, it's hard, you know, I don't think I would have either. I mean, it's hard to do like an exchange sacrifice when you feel like, oh, I don't have to go to that extreme. This is a really interesting idea. I'm sure this has been analyzed. Like pawn takes, knight takes, the threat of d4 and knight d3. Black seems to have a lot of compensation. And I think this is pretty cool. Like queen d4, knight c6 defending the pawn, queen d2 and d4. Interesting game. I mean, Caruana would have had a lot of activity here. A pawn for the exchange with active play. But instead he takes the pawn, and this is I'm going to go through this a little more quickly because this is going to be a long game. Otherwise, I just want to show you guys this really nice idea. So Carlsen sacks a pawn for control of the position. And he's not winning b4 outright, because if he takes this pawn on b4, the black will just roll with d4 with a very strong game. So it's like a long-term conception. Rook e7, he could have played like his rook actively over here or something. Caruana's like, okay, well, I'm up a pawn, I'll give it back, everything will be okay. But not really. Like, white is better, even though he's down a pawn. Check it out. The pawn on d5 is literally blocking all of black's pieces. Like, that's not a good arrow. But look, I mean, this is ridiculous. This is like Capablanca and Nimzovich rolled into one. I feel like Caruana was just absolutely outplayed strategically. If this is going to happen in the match, it's going to be no contest. Rook d1, then h6, rook c5, rook a5, and maybe white could have played better. He plays like this, and now h3 simply. He's down a pawn in a relatively simplified position and playing for a win. Because ultimately, I guess, this pawn might just fall. So at this point, he played king h7, which was kind of a weird move. I don't get it. Like, why is Caruana playing king h7? But he could have played like queen a6 and tried to infiltrate here. Looks like black would probably be okay if he played perfectly. He goes king h7, then rook c1, white improves the position, and then Caruana didn't know what to do. He's like up a pawn with nothing to do. He's not better, he's actually worse. Strategically, white has an outside pawn, the b pawn is weak, the other pawn is blockaded, and all the black's pieces are sort of stupid, blocked by his own pawn on d5. This is a brilliant positional game, probably overlooked by many, but rook c7, he does this, but it's like rook takes, queen takes, and as Spectacular Camel said, Carlsen felt that the pawn on b4 was overextended. I feel like Caruana's play was optimistic, too optimistic, like underestimating Carlsen. Like the whole thing with playing a5, I don't think I'd want to do that, you know, against a player of Carlsen's magnitude. But really nice technique after this. Check, bishop d1, and the pawns on the queen side just win. Caruana could have put up better resistance than he did in the game. It was kind of a long ending. But at the end of the day, white has these two connected passed pawns that just are unstoppable. King h2, bishop takes, knight takes, queen c7, check. He moves back in. Now, Caruana actually could have played something to maybe slow white down, but he played this, and then just b4, and the pawns are just rolling. So now Caruana is just lost. It's 5 pawns against 5 pawns, queen and knight each, and he's just lost. I mean, these pawns are just stronger than these pawns. You know, mobilized pawns versus unmobilized pawns. It's like a beautiful game. So I just want to share that with you guys. Caruana, you got to give him credit. He's going to fight very hard, but I just don't think, you know, he's got a good chance against Carlsen. We'll see what happens in the match. But he tried desperate tricks here, and Carlsen just defended everything and just went on to win. Eventually, I thought, actually, Caruana played on a little bit too far. I complain about this during our viewer tournaments sometimes, but it seemed a little ridiculous at some point here. We get to like a queen ending where basically it's just hopeless, you know, and Caruana continues to play on at this point, like where it's just obvious that he's lost. It's just totally obvious. So I'll play through the rest of the moves here quickly, but it was pretty much no question. And then here, up 2 pawns and a queen ending. I mean, it's just over. At this point, really, Caruana should probably resign against the caliber of the world champion. He played on and on and on for like ever. He even allowed like a new queen or something like that. Here, check, f2, check here, takes the queen, and continued to play on with like a queen against queen and 3 pawns. I don't know what the time situation was, but it seems a little strange to me. Anyways, there's always a chance for stalemate, right? So the end of the game eventually came down here. He just gave up. So I just wanted to share a few more moves actually. Here, check, queen d5, queen e6. Carlsen was just relentless. He didn't mind torturing his opponent a little bit more. Got the pawn to a7. And eventually he's going to get the pawn to a8. And really black, I mean, White has plenty of places to hide the king here. So it's just no question. Merle Dixon, thank you for the donation, 150 bits. I thought this was a great game, and it just shows like Carlsen's strengths. Like he doesn't have to get an advantage in the opening. In equal position, he'll outplay you positionally brilliantly. Like in a game like this, Caruana is in trouble if this kind of thing is going to happen, where he just gets outplayed strategically in a simple position. And also, endgame technique is like lights out. Caruana's got to create like insane complications, you know, somehow, but not easy to do that. So anyway, guys, let's get to your submissions. I'd like to thank you again for joining and for subscribing to my stream. This is our subscriber stream. Another notification, guys, before we get started with the subscriber games. I think Nils is up first. Let me go back here. Nils, where are you? There. I want to tell you guys, tomorrow, Friday, I'm normally doing morning streams, but I think we're going to do an afternoon stream tomorrow as well, because of the way my schedule breaks down. Friday, we're going to aim for 4:30 like today. So just so you guys know, Friday stream, not in the morning. Don't come here in the morning. All right? It's going to be Friday 4:30 like this. The same thing afternoon. In the USA, I can pull this off on Fridays. We have a different schedule. So I think for this week and next week at least, we're going to be doing Fridays like this in the afternoon rather than the morning. All right, I will announce that again at the end of the stream just to remind everybody. So, Too Shark, I did a Alta Box Maggie versus Carrie. All right, so we're going to take a look at Nils' submission here. Was there some kind of message? Well, anyway, okay, Nils is white. So this is the game where our subscriber is playing the white pieces in a regular over-the-board game. Some sort of fly here. Stucker lad. All right, in the morning, you say. Set up the alarm. So I set my alarm. No morning tomorrow. It's seriously, it's in the afternoon, 4:30 p.m. EDT. That's not morning unless you're in Asia somewhere, I guess. Not in the morning. Usually it's been in the morning on Fridays. Yeah, Tushar, that was a game submitted by me. Yeah. So d4, d5, c4, and now e6, queen's gambit. Nils is white. We could play a Catalan here. That's what he does. Now, Nils against me was playing the white side of the Nimzo. So he's mixing up different stuff. He's not playing knight c3. He's seeing a queen's gambit, though. You know, so he might adapt differently. Maybe he normally plays the Catalan rather than knight to c3 against the queen's gambit decline. Against the Nimzo, he was playing against knight f6 and e6, he was playing the white side of the Nimzo with knight c3. Yeah, check the video later. The lesson of the day, Too Shark. I took your suggestion. Now here, I have a fruit fly. He's looking for the lemon that I don't have for my Belgian beer. Nils, do you know anything about Belgian beer? You live relatively close to Belgium. There's a few people who live... We don't have any Belgians in the stream. We do have relatively close to Belgian people. Bishop g2. This is a weird setup by black, playing g6, but I don't think it's that out of hand stupid. I know that it looks strange to play e6 and g6, but let's stop and think about this for a minute. It's not ridiculous to do g6. I mean, how do you exploit this? Fianchetto is always good, you know, every opening. You tuned in at the right time, said Nils. Man, how do we exploit this? I don't know. You know, you just kind of have to do your thing. So bishop g2, bishop g7, castles, castles. How does white exploit the fact that black has wasted time with like e6 and g6? I guess you just have to take this position, Nils, and think about it as a Grunfeld. You're playing a symmetrical Fianchetto Grunfeld, where your opponent has just decided to play e6 instead of like c6, which would be more common. There's really no dramatic way to refute this formation. I will admit, it's solid. It's solid for black. Anytime you play a Fianchetto, it's solid. Okay, Nils comes up with knight c3, a move you might not be able to play in a normal Catalan without sacking a pawn. I think this might be good, because you don't have to fear this. If d takes c4, you can probably scoop that pawn with like queen a4. Cham Istvan, playing the white pieces. We have many draws. We were joking about the Cham name. When I was a kid, I used to like read the chess informants. As an American kid in junior high school studying chess informant, I thought it was Kasam. You know, this is a rather uncommon and rare Hungarian surname, Cham Istvan. So, yeah, you just get the pawn back. I mean, it's not even a sack, you know, like you have to play, not be able to get your pawn back. Knight c3 is good. Now knight in bd7. I wonder if black can play b6 instead. I would be most concerned as black in like trying to neutralize this guy and try to do like a double Fianchetto. So you can see here the most common move is knight c6, but that's kind of strange. That would come out of a different order of moves normally. Black playing a Chigorin type of setup, following up with e6 and g6. I don't know about that. Wang Chen, whoever he is. b6 looks to me Prognanhanda. It really reminds me of like Fraggle Rock. I mean, I tried a lot to understand how to pronounce his name, but I give up. There are just too many consonants, and there's vowels too. It's all over the place. Prognanhanda. Yeah, but I mean, I don't see anything really easy to play here. You know, bishop b7, we're coming with a double Fianchetto. It seems reasonable for black, oddly, as strange as it seems. g6 and b6, is your opponent me? Is your opponent me? No, this this is a guy who's 1580. Knight bd7. Yeah, like check this out. So the majority of players in a very small sample size play queen b3 here. But that move makes a lot of sense in a way because we're putting pressure on d5. And maybe that's a problem with white's, you know, black's move order. I mean, if you play b6 first, we try to do this, black can play bishop b7 and then d5 is secured. But if you play knight on bd7 first, look at that, the difference here. Knight on bd7 first, now you could play queen b3 and force black to play c6. And this is actually Karpov against Kirill Gergiev. White has a very good score here. So check this out. Karpov Gergiev 1988. Probably bishop f4, rook d1 is a move as well. So it's more accurate for black to play b6 as I suspected, to want to get the Fianchetto in. Here, this is a weird move. I mean, I guess it's not bad, but I don't really think that that's a typical plan here for white. You can play just a traditional counter Fianchetto with like Elianov Grandelius here. You can play bishop f4. Is black going to try to grab this pawn? Is that a thing, to try to grab the pawn? I don't know. I imagine white would have maybe a4 to circumvent like knight b6, or we could just go after the pawn directly. But queen b3 gets my vote for the move. I agree with this. It just makes sense. You know, force black to make the passive c6. So, I don't like Nils's rook e1. It's not a terrible move, but I just don't think this is going to test black that much. Should he play b6 now? Why not? Would be the million-dollar question. b6. He plays c6 passive. What if we play b6? Now, what's white's plan? If you're knight e5, bishop b7. If e4, you take it and then play bishop b7. Black seems to be okay. So I think this move becomes kind of redundant. You know, it's not terrible, but not the best plan. So c6 is passive for black. You played e4. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, knight takes, rook takes. Now the classic, like, played just reactionary move, knight f6. But black has a problem with the bishop on c8, and that's why c6 is bad. Turkey Farm, hey, what's up? He said e4, d takes e4, knight g5, though. Okay, maybe there's the possibility of doing that. So black was inaccurate. He should play knight takes e4, knight takes e4, pawn takes. He would be much more accurate to do it that way. Turkey Farm brings up an interesting point. You could try knight g5 here. I'm not sure. But you have plans of like c5 and then take with the piece on e4 and try to implant an implantation. If you've been abducted by aliens, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe Ilumshinov knows what I'm talking about. But c5 with an implanted device on d6. This could be a problem. Where are viewers? I don't have lichess.org in the stream. Are you guys kidding me? Nobody told me this? You guys, it is in the stream. Okay. Our stream is up on lichess, but King Crusher streaming or something, right? The great King Crusher. What can I do? Anyway, it's a subscriber stream. We usually don't get as many viewers. Get your relatives in here. Get your friends in here. We're doing serious chess analysis, not just garbage bullet chess. What's up, guys? Thank you for supporting the stream. Thanks for subscribing. Good suggestion by Turkey Farm, though. You know, it could be inaccurate for black to do the move order he did. And I don't like knight f6 because knight f6 takes pressure off these key points. You need the knight on d7. What is black supposed to do here? Maybe the ugliness, like b6. Just do this anyway. Try to do this. Maybe this is the lesser of the evils. He plays knight f6, rook e1. Could try to be fancy and maybe do like a rook e2, but because sometimes you might be able to do some kind of lateral rook thing. I don't think so, though. Probably rook e1 is fine here, and that's another kind of weird move. I don't like queen b3. This piece is misplaced. I mean, I don't think queen b3 is a terrible move, but I don't think it's the best. It looks like the queen on b6 is misplaced. White has a space advantage. You shouldn't trade pieces. You'll still have an advantage after queen b3, but I think we can exploit the black queen on b6. We can put our queen on a good square and take advantage of his queen on b6 ultimately. So any kind of normal move here, queen c2, queen e2, followed by like b3, you know, possibly even b3 right away. Maybe black has some counterplay with a5. I don't like this move. Knight d7. Now, oh look, I realized I made. Hey, why did I put my knight on f6? That was a dumb move. One of the best things you can do in chess is like admit your mistakes. Your opponent does that here. Admits his mistake. It takes a big man to admit his mistakes. Now, I wish some presidents could do that. Okay, knight d7. Anyway, bishop e3. You want to play rook h4? Yeah, forget about it. Let's not, like, you know, in bullet chess. Okay, knight d7, bishop e3. This looks reasonable here. I don't like blocking the rook, but now that your queen's on b3, this is no longer an option. So bishop e3 also inhibits c5. I think it looks like a good move. Black has a serious problem. Another reason why I don't like queen b6, guys. Duh. Like, you can't play that. Black has a problem. It's still not too late to play. Is it too late to play b6 here? I mean, obviously the long diagonal is a little irritating, but if we could get in b6, bishop b7, black might be okay. I mean, I don't know. Knight e5, it's kind of complicated. Knight e5, knight e5, de5, and then if bishop takes e5, like bishop takes c6, or bishop takes b6. It's not impossible. There's some way you can clamp onto like some kind of small endgame advantage, maybe, in some line like this. But I think he needs to try to realize his problem. How many people in the queue for submitting games? Tons. I'm going to go to sleep in like 15 minutes. Don't let us stop you. We've got Asterbait, Pawn Pusher, Ibadas 3, Merle 4, Nefidov 5, Move 11 6, Mr. Coffee 7. So 7. Bishop f4. Dude, are you serious? He moved his knight to f6 again. Nice. Alright. It's still not easy to make progress. Knight e5. We want to put a knight on d6. Can we get there? Here, here, here. Can we do that? Can we sack a piece on c6? I wonder if Nils is seriously considering this. You've got the option to do some crazy thing with knight takes c6. Oh my god. Oh my god. You got this? This move works for reals? It's very funny because, you know, whatever happens, at the end of the day, if he takes this, his bishop literally has no squares. So he can't defend. He would have to lose a whole piece, in other words. He has to lose a whole piece. Something along the lines of like this. Bishop takes d7, rook e7, and grovel for a draw opposite colored bishops. But maybe, I don't know. You know, it's kind of touch and go. I'm not sure what the best move is. It's interesting. Anyway, guys, whoa, what happened? Okay, so my phone scared me. Hey, well, everyone, thank you, Dim. What's up, guys? You weren't convinced. I'm not convinced either. But if you got the time, I've got the beer. Now, if you got the time, it's worth it to take a look at this very, very carefully, because it could be a good, you know, it could be a good shot. I'm also unconvinced. Bishop d2 looks like you're coming back over here. It looks okay. Rook d8, bishop c3. I like it. f6. Okay, this guy's a weaker player. You're going to outplay him slowly. And then he played e5. Uh-oh. Oh, no. So was knight d3 a mistake? Maybe you should just go back home to a normal location. Man. Knight f3. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Red Sox are killing it. I almost had a heart attack last night. Stayed up and I was like, I'm going to kill myself if they lose. Really, after watching this whole stupid game. Knight d3 and now e5. Uh-oh. We don't really want this to happen. You know, we didn't really want this to happen. I mean, it looks like it's getting kind of crazy after d5. I don't want him to play that move, you know. Can we play knight f3? I know it feels like we're going around in circles. But we keep him more restricted. I mean, maybe we can just build up on this. It's something to consider. Okay, let's see what happens here. So d5. Now the situation is very complicated. You have a passed pawn, but he has a strong pawn on e5. You might have f4 for that matter, though. You know, actually, come to think of it, maybe you have f4 and trying to break through to the other side like the doors. Bishop f5. Oh, whoa. Okay, so we got tactics now. Maybe black eventually just makes a tactical mistake. He should take on d5, presumably. Take on d5 and play chess, right? Not clear what's happening here, guys. Takes, bishop takes, d5 check, king h8. Not a good king. And then knight c5. Looks like Nils is probably just like winning material, actually. So this may be good. Move 11, what's up? It may be good. It may be good. Maybe he has some creepy crawly defense, but I admit this is stronger than I thought. It's stronger than I thought. White's got a big advantage. Okay, bishop f5, and now here he goes postal. Wait a minute. If you take here, can we do this? Pawn takes pawn. I mean, what is going on? We got those two pawns, huh? Wow. Admittedly, this looks pretty freaking scary for black. The amoeba. Look at those pawns. I don't know, but I don't like it for black. It doesn't look good, but I'm not sure what options he has, really. So he takes back here. Okay? But you're winning now. I mean, I think you're just winning on knight b4, some simple move. You played knight c5. I mean, this is an option. Then he's got c5. Is that the problem? You're in very good shape. Rook a5 a bit awkward. I don't know what that move does. But he's got pins along the c5. If you try to take the pawn. Here. Here. The pawn amoeba lurching forward. That basically secures the threat of bishop takes c6. And this has been kind of tough. Knight takes. We're still not winning anything yet. Man, bishop takes c6. We still can't play that. I mean, that might be good. Bishop takes c6, rook c8, b5. Like, just for example. Bishop takes, rook c8, b5. Bishop takes c4, rook takes a7. I mean, you're up a pawn. I don't know. It's a double pawn, though. I'm not that crazy about it. Don't tell me this guy survives this game somehow. c5, bishop d5. Okay, you finally won a pawn. That took a long time. And it's a double pawn. So, how strong is b5 here? Is that the kind of move that could win on the spot? b5 immediately? What's up with that? Can we play this? Can we turn on the engine for a moment and just double check? So the engine's saying bishop takes d5. Okay, that's another option. I'm thinking b5 is really strong. This is extremely strong. But this is even stronger, according to the engine. The evil engine. Bishop h3, yeah, not a good move. I mean, we just got to be systematic. You know, the thing is, you're winning with those pawns. You're winning with those pawns. Plus, this thing is a monster on d5. I really don't want to leave it there unopposed. I want to knock you out with the b5, knock out the protection of that guy, and create a pass pawn. I think bishop h3 is a big mistake. And uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. Check. I'm not sure what we're achieving here. And then bishop, I see, so bishop d7. Okay, now you have a nice threat. Are you a big fan of cat skinning, perhaps? We have an American saying, you know, there are many ways to skin a cat. More than one way to skin a cat. So this method of skinning the cat might actually prove effective. Can you translate that into Dutch or some other language? I never heard it in other languages, this cat skinning thing. h5. Man, what about b5, dude? I just want to go while the iron is hot. Let's just play b5. I feel like you're hesitating too much. Let's just play b5. Pawn takes pawn, c6. How does he stop you here? Because I don't see it. I'm just not seeing it. He's got a crazy variation. Well, what's he going to do? Like king h7? I mean, what is he going to do? Bishop f8? Bishop f8 is always mate. Like bishop f8, c7. He's got the rook takes and rook d1 with mate. That's why Nils played h3. It's possible that h3 is good. You know, it's good. You can still get mated, though. Anyways. Okay, there's still nasty mates everywhere. Man, dude, into the file, really? He's got all the time in the world here. Okay, finally. I mean, could he have interfered with you with like f5 and generated some kind of real problems? Oh, his bishop's attacked. My bad. Okay, his bishop's attacked. It's attacked, true enough. And I think you're winning now. This is winning. There's f5. It's a moment too late. Probably more than one way to skin this cat. You know. Taking is also possible. I really hope this is a win. Oh my god. So this is good enough. Don't like that the king position there. If you step out though, you get bishop takes h3. It's over. Okay. Well, that was frightening. That was a little frightening, you know. The overall play was good, but I think you got a lot of points where you can improve. The cat's saying in Danish. Does that exist? Skinning cats? Nils likes torture. Okay. Yeah, well, you're torturing yourself to some degree in that game, too. I mean, you were like, the whole way it felt like you had something in the right spirit, but some inaccuracies. Queen b3, I really didn't like trading queens. I think that's the wrong approach. When he plays queen b6, his queen is misplaced, and you've got more space. And you definitely should keep the queens on. You still had an advantage in the endgame, but I think it wasn't that big as it would be with the queens on the board. Okay, overall good game, but lots of places to improve. Got 2 notifications. Just some guy wants to beat you. I want to play you so I beat you. That's cool. Very informative. Tushar, if we have time. Alright, so guys, let's go to the next game. Acerbate. We got a long list, so I'm going to go through these games a little quicker if I can. He said you could use this one. Let's you chosen the Halloween Gambit one. Let's take a look at this one. What happened? What did I do? I clicked on lichess.org. I'm good. 37 viewers. Bring your uncles and aunts and friends and girlfriends and enemies and everybody to watch the stream. Alright, we've got Acerbate versus Kwa. This is, well, there was a Halloween Gambit game, but this is more mainline, you know. Acerbate white, it's e4, e5, knight f3, queen f6. R.I.P. Boris Basinski was an old friend of mine. He was a FIDE master from the United States. And he died years ago. But he used to play actually like knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, queen f6, I think. This is an actual line. There's the game actually he played against Hannes Steffensen in 1997. But no, queen f6 right away is really extreme. The ultimate like fool's mate, but it doesn't even work because there's no knight on f. I mean, you need the knight on f3 to not be there, so you can deliver fool's mate with bishop c5. A bit strange. So this line is in lichess part of book. I'm done. Welcome. So queen f6 here, pretty weird move. What does this remind me of? Oh, this reminds me of Ed Formanek. Or Formanek. I remember playing queen e7 against Alexander Ivanov once. Looks like some real people. Fedoseev is actually playing this. Fedoseev has 2 games against Vahap Sanal. That's crazy, dude. Alright, so queen f6. How much worse can it be? Knight c3, c6. Aha. c6 question mark. I mean, it seems like the most natural move. So I mean, you see the advantage in the Fedoseev variation with queen e7. Bishop c4, queen g6 is the Bourdonnais gambit. It's tempting to play a lot of moves here. I mean, for me, the move that's most tempting is d4. I mean, when I see this position, I see bishop on the queen, you know, in some lines coming out. Maybe not right away, but the possibility exists. It's also like, I mean, I want to kick the queen around. We could play all sorts of gambit type of stuff. It actually looks a lot like a Queen's Gambit Accepted, which is a common theme in the Queen's Gambit Accepted with e5. When black plays e5 in some lines of the Queen's Gambit Accepted, where white plays e4, Queen's Gambit Accepted, like the Queen f6, Queen g6, this is a common maneuver in the Scotch, other openings as well. Turkey Farm said, I think the only time this Queen f6 idea works when you follow up knight on g to e7. Well, again, like in other openings, where does it work? You know, if you take like lines like the weird exchange variation, like bishop takes c6, d takes c6, castles, bishop g4. I mean, here's a line where, you know, you oftentimes see the queen f6 coming out. I guess h5. You know, this variation here. This is much more logical, though. I mean, you got the queen on the pin on the f3 knight. I mean, this completely makes sense. But to bring it out on move 2, it's an attempt to get white out of book. Here, I like d4, breaking out the center. The question is, I mean, what do? Do you take back with the knight? Can this transpose to a Scotch, by the way? Maybe this is an argument. This is a mistake. Maybe I'm letting black transpose to a normal Scotch. So, there's no games found. That's weird. I mean, queen f6 is not exactly played every day. But no games. That's kind of surprising. So, knight c3, c6, d4, yes. And that's the point. So he has to do... He can't do d6. I mean, this is the key factor. No, wait a minute. Yeah, we've got bishop g5. Wait a minute. Queen d6. This is the move. Knight takes e5 here. But how does this work? Because this doesn't work, right? You could just trade. Rook takes. And then f6. That's not good. That's not good. So what am I missing here? Oh, of course, you play bishop g5, duh. Bishop g5 first, very deep. And then if queen g6, pawn takes pawn, we simply win a pawn. Easy peasy, right? So e takes d4. Okay, Azerbaijan plays tricky chess here. What you don't want to do is something stupid like trade queens. I mean, white would even have an advantage there. But like I said in the last game, you have more space. You don't want to trade pieces, especially queens. You could play knight takes d4. Again, that becomes a Scotch-like position. So bishop g5 is apparently a strong move. Well, the thing is that this would allow Azerbaijan to capture with the queen on d4 efficiently without trading queens. And then Mr. Queen or Mrs. Queen is just owning the game, basically, on d4. Extremely strong piece, centralized, dominating, and difficult to get rid of. Because what's black going to do? Play like knight a6, bishop c5 or something? How do you challenge the queen? How do you challenge the queen if it's placed on d4 here? Without e5 pawn, with c5 being anti-positional, it's going to be ugly. So this is a strong move. e5 is good too, but your pawn is a little overextended, so he'll be able to like chop that guy down with d6, trade it off. Still, not a bad move. Azerbaijan play queen takes d4. The computer says it's a mistake, but let's not be too harsh. Interesting. Queen takes d4. Why not? I don't mind sacrificing this. Why is this a mistake? Wow, knight a6, a very strong move. I talked about c3 Sicilian. Maybe you have to hack that off. But if bishop takes a6, queen takes g2, intermezzo. It says the best move was bishop takes a6, but I'm a little concerned about this in-between move. Is that a problem? What do you guys think? Guys, we're going to get to as many games as we can. I'll try not to take too much time on every single move. But I'm interested. It's a fun position here. So, I don't know. Queen takes g2. That's kind of weird. Like, we have all this development. Rook g1 here, then bring this guy back with tempo. I mean, is the black queen trapped? Probably. Really close to trapped, right? I mean, this looks awful. This just looks absolutely awful for black. Goodness. Might even have some crazy stuff. Imagine this line. Rook takes g7. I want to do this. I really want to do this. I'm not sure that it works, though. You know, that's the kind of thing you want to do, though. Because that would probably work if he takes on g7. White looks crushing. Yeah, we don't need to think about this too much. So, knight e4, this is also good. But there is a problem here with the c2 square. That's the issue. He doesn't do it, though. I mean, this is the entire point, right? He has to try knight b4 with their weak point on c2. And I don't know how you defend that. I mean, it's a bit of a problem. If you have to play like bishop d3, you have an issue with queen takes g2 for real now. I'm not sure what the solution is. It's not out of the realm of possibility. You have to go full Spassky and play like king d1. That would be pretty tragic. So knight e4 was too optimistic for Asterbait. You just need to develop. You need to develop your pieces. If you have a position where you have an advantage like this in terms of development lead, focus on doing what he's not doing. If your lead isn't developed, just keep developing. You know, exploit him and crush him where he's weak. But instead, Asterbait moved the same piece twice. He got tempted to kind of do the same thing his opponent is doing, which is moving the same pieces twice, not developing. Knight e4 was too direct. Terrible move. And then another terrible move. It just gives up d6 altogether. It's fatal. Knight d6 check here, and then there's many, many good moves. A favorite square of, as we know, a favorite square of Stockfish. It loves queen f4, c4, c5, f5. Brutalizing now. He played bishop d3. That is evil. Evil. Oh, what a nice move. Wonderful game. Queen h5, g4. Just killing the defense. So g5 is the only move for black here. Not to lose a queen. And you just take with a knight, right? Nice game, man. Nice game. Good job. So impressive. Only knight e4 looked like you kind of lost the thread there. Right there when you played knight e4. Knight b4. I don't know. That would have been awkward. I didn't see anything better. Literally king d1. Oh no, Stockfish's favorite move again. Queen c4. Okay, you had this. You have this. That looks very awkward because of b5. Like, what is the deal with that? Oh, you have back here, so that's the whole secret. You can go this in this tricky shape here. Queen c4, queen e2 to keep c2 protected. The other option is going tile Spassky, Winnower French style with king d1. Spassky tile, sorry. Spassky tile had fantastic games in their French defense games where like tile was white, or Spassky was white and tile was black in the 60s. Lots of cool games. He plays like Kasparov. Okay, guys, next game. I'm going to try to get through as many games as we can. Pawn Pusher. Pawn Pusher 7-6. Alright, Pawn Pusher 7-6. Here we go. I have to grab this game and we'll put it in an analysis board. So copy. This is Pawn Pusher is black. Okay. Pawn Pusher, I don't know if he's here. I'm sorry if I missed you guys in the chat. So the maximum if you're cramped, trade, and if you have space, don't trade. Absolutely, I'm done. Where is everybody? We lost some viewers. We're down to 25. Come on, guys. Good analysis. Serious chess here. So this is pass pawn 99 submission. He's black. Well, let's take a look. International Master William Pascal with my Panda friends. My pandas. Scrub Panda substitutes. Hello. We've got to keep the Panda motif going on, though. Our regular Panda, our mascot, is in Budapest, Hungary. We've got a cheer from Spectacular Camel. Spectacular Camel, are you next? Yes. Luckily you are. Are you getting sleepy out there? Poor Tushar. All right, what do we got? So we got to get more viewers for these subscriber streams. Nobody likes the subscriber streams. Analysis, they're like, oh, we don't want to watch that. No brain, no pain, guys. If you don't think, you can't get better at chess. Chess requires thought and analysis. Not just like, bullet chess moving without brain. I mean, playing chess with hand. All right. Anyway, this is black. Pass pawn is black. It's a French. E4, E6. Knight C3. Speaking of winner, where black played the classical French with knight F6. I'm not an authority, but I have played white in these lines. E5, knight FD7, F4, C5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop E3. And so the modern trend is for black to play A6. This is something that's really transpired in like the last 15 years. A6 has surpassed other moves to become the main line. When I was becoming a master many, many moons ago, Queen B6 was like the main line. This was like considered the variation. And I think it's still probably okay. There's some crazy stuff in those lines, like poison pawn lines, weird lines with knight A4. That was the trend back in the 90s, but now A6 has surpassed it. There's also kind of lame giving up the tension lines where black's really like kind of trying to play for a draw, I would say. So bishop E7 is just not a bad move. Some kind of waiting move. It appears to be okay, theoretically. And then white has to choose what to do. Queen D2 is standard. Basically, I think A6 is a move, and the reason why it's popular, it's a way of trying to talk white out of castling queenside, because the sharpest lines feature white castling opposite sides. And I think this modern trend toward A6 is just the threats of B5, B4, and expanding on the queen side actually function to discourage white from castling queen side. So you see a lot more variations where white plays like bishop E2 and castles short against A6. I had a game with Kiryakov many years ago. I think with white, he played A6 and I just reacted with a kind of safe approach. But I haven't had too many tournament games in classical French. So, but after bishop E7, it's more typical to play queen D2 for white and go long, basically, like an NFL receiver. Go long. But he goes short anyway. Very cautious approach. Now, black playing A6, it's a fine move. There's nothing wrong with A6, I would assume. Not too many games in this particular position, but it's okay for both sides. Castles. And what do we got here? Larry Mark Christensen, 1997, against Borges from Cuba. Larry probably played in Cuba in 97. Who knows? So Capablanca Memorial, B5, knight B1. Wow, unprovoked knight B1. What are you thinking? Damn, that is a weird move. Why would white just voluntarily retreat his knight to B1? I think the standard reaction is like taking on C5. But the problem for white would be, he doesn't have a good square for his knight. I typically would go for this. Or maybe, you can go ahead and play like queen D2. And on B4, you're going to pull the knight back to D1. Because on D1, you're heading for F2. The knight is a good path. Knight B1 sucks. Here there's a game Vacher with white in 2016. And an older Hubner game. You don't want the knight going back to B1, clearly. The knight goes to D1 or E2, toward the king side, toward the place where you have more space. More space in the base and whatever. So knight B1 is just crazy. All right. Very, very strange move. He's thinking maybe C3 to reinforce, but his knight is stupid on B1. Here, queen B6, C3. Now what for black? I'm not a big fan of the black side of the classical French. I don't know how to play these positions. But B4 seems natural, but also kind of scary. The whole position scares me. Black played bishop B7. You could even play A5 and bishop A6 for that matter. Try to get it out there. Is that ridiculous to play like here? But let's step back a moment, okay? When he plays knight b1 in this position, I mean, should we take advantage of this moment to try to play t takes on d4, for example? Looks like white just has the Steinitzian control of d4. This looks kind of good for white. So I don't know what to suggest exactly. The engine's saying castles. Yeah, knight f2 is good. But, I mean, I guess you can castle and bite the bullet. It's not like he has a bishop on d3 and is sacking on h7 with some sort of massive attack. And f5's not so easy to play. So I guess you can bite the bullet and try to castle here. I don't know what else to recommend. But I don't like this. Queen b6, c3. For me, the whole variation of bishop e7 is a tad passive. This bishop it's not great. I'd rather play a5, bishop a6. Knight b2 castles. His knight's messed up. His knight's not good here. And then a3, okay. Rook ac8. Again, a5 with the idea of bishop a6 might be more natural. You'll have to contact like Varuzhin Akobian or something. Somebody who plays this type of position, because for me it's like very unnatural and I don't feel comfortable here with black. Bishop d3, yeah, I was talking about that. Gearing up for something. cd4, cd4, and then, okay, so f6. Yeah, now it's looking like we got to contact our subscriber Mule Skinner. So Jesse, okay. Jesse talks about a6, b5. You guys can check out chesslecture.com where I make a lot of videos over the years. Jesse Cry is a French expert. He did a lot of videos over there. F6 looks reasonable. You got to keep him honest here. You know, this stops knight g5. It looks scary. I am, however, slightly concerned about h7. I mean, if white goes like queen b1, black will play f5, I suppose. What about this? Wow. Okay, so you give up h7. You give up h7. You just take here. You give him this one. Because the bishop on h7 can't hurt you directly. And then you win the more important pawn on e5. And I talked about this the other day, actually, where I was white in the game against Nils. I tricked him. I think I didn't want to put my queen on b1 because bishop h7 is so hollow. One move threat to win a pawn on h7 bfd. Kobe may have a YouTube video on it. Yeah, he loves playing the black side of the classical. F takes e5. Bishop takes h7. Actually, he plays all variations of French. So that's just an analysis variation. f6, queen e2. And now, I mean, you could even play f5, dude, seriously. But, I mean, white's knight is on the wrong square there. I think it should be on e2, and he could launch a kingside attack. But on d2, he has to play more on the queen side. I mean, f6 does make sense. You're putting pressure on the center. It's just a very tricky, tense situation. Here, queen e2, and now f e5. Probably releasing the tension too early. I'm going to turn off the engine. It's probably freezing my stream. I'm sorry, guys, if Stockfish froze my stream. Very possible that happened. You get my apologies. Hopefully not. Let's make sure. No, looks like we're all right. Sometimes it does that to me. Personally hate the French. Yeah, I'm not a French player. So you exchange too early, but what should you do here? With queen e2, he actually stops a5. So there's no expanding on the queen side. It looks like you have to play like knight a5, literally. Like Tony Miles in a St. George. Miles used to argue that the St. George was better than the Owen defense. He's actually right, because you can do like induce a3 and then play like knight a5, and this looks like literally a St. George defense for black. Knight a5, knight c4, and you got some kind of counterplay with that knight swinging out into c4. Hopefully enough to keep him busy. That's the better chance. Okay, f takes e5 here. I think this exchange probably gives up control of g5 for one thing. So that might become an issue. Now you went with knight a5. Yeah. You should do this without the exchange, I guess. This is a strong move. And there's this fruit fly sitting on my beer. Now there's this knight g5 business. We're looking at nasty threats, possibly. Okay. Not really like loving taking that bishop. on paper, the knight on c4 is a little bit stronger. Guys, please support the stream with the PayPal donation if you can afford it. Subscribe to the stream. I much appreciate it. Any kind of bit donations you can afford. Merrill Dixon is leading the week, by the way, with 501 bits. Dim donated to 450 this week. Percy Hepworth with 100. Thanks so much, guys. So, I don't know. I mean, can white go with knight g5? Probably not anything there. Yeah, do we want to take on e3 or not? It's a strong knight on c4. I mean, it's a pity to exchange it for the bad bishop, essentially. But I guess if you don't, I mean, he might actually play bishop g5 himself and then trade your bishop off for it. What we really want is some sort of combination here with knight takes e5. That's not happening. So at the end of the day, I'm afraid now we have just like a bad piece on b7. White has two good knights and a good bishop against a good bishop, a knight, and a bad bishop. So his minor pieces are better than ours in the situation. Dim, thank you for another 100. So Dim takes the lead with 550 bits. Bit war. You very happy with white? Yeah, white's not bad. His space advantage. Knight g5 now, though. No, this is getting concerning for black. But I don't know what to do. This is forced. This looks good for white, yep. The knight is bad, the bishop is bad. Bishop takes, game continuation g6. I mean, even rook f6 looks... Honestly, I mean, if you were to do that, I would be very, very unhappy right now. You know, I mean, if we were to take that, is this really okay for black? This type of position? Maybe we could defend somehow. We are up the exchange, but this is like a pawn. Literal pawn on b7. I am terrified here. I don't like it. That's why earlier I was talking about a5, bishop a6. I think that's an improvement. Here, 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 here. Uh-oh. We have a problem. We have a problem now. And your only hope is like simplification, but the ending looks bad. And there's entry points on both sides of the board. Even this exchange is not saving us here. Oh, man. White played really well. It is the evil chess site, right? I don't know how the computer detection was doing on this game, but white played very, very well. It's over. I think it's like over. I mean, how are we going to play from here? No, bishop d3. Like, he should play bishop d3 here to stop you from playing any nonsense, I guess. I guess he could wait, though. It doesn't matter. Man, this is brutal. Wow, white is really good. This is just lost. a4. Why play a4? Do we have to play a4? You could just infiltrate here, I would think. Draw agreed. What? So I think white's just winning here. We got a winning position. Just king c5 infiltrating. a4 is a weird move. It's still probably good. Yeah, this was a great game by white. He just lost his mind. Draw agreed. Obviously. So what was this like? Give me a draw or report you for being a computer. That's like reminding me of a story where my friend played this guy in a tournament game, and he went to go to the bathroom, and as he was going out of the room in an over-the-board tournament, he looked back over his shoulder and he saw his opponent like making a move and pressing the clock, and he knew when his opponent played and pressed the clock, and he went to the bathroom, thought about it while he was in the bathroom, went back to the tournament hall, the move was unplayed, and the clock was unpressed. And he was like, wow, what am I going to do with this guy? So the guy had no clue that he looked back and saw that this had been played, and he sat down calmly and he said to the guy, you played, bishop d3, didn't you? And pressed the clock. And the guy was like so shocked that he's just like, yeah. And my friend was like, would you like to resign? And the guy was like, yeah. You can resign now or I'll report it to the tournament director. Okay, I'll just resign. So the guy ended up resigning and then like tying for first in the tournament. No, this looks like draw agreed. I don't understand. All right, guys, let's go on to the next game. So Yabatis, if he's still awake, is our next game, guys. We're going to be streaming another hour here. Yabatis, where are you? That was a sad part, though. The guy ended up tying for first because my friend ended up not reporting him to the tournament director for cheating. Something like that. So funny. He won like all his other games. So Yabatis is white here. He's an English opening connoisseur. Black played b6. This is a very strange move. Very strange move. Essentially, but at the same time, like essentially, the b3 Sicilian, a tempo down. Like, okay. I think the extra tempo really counts here, though. So knight f3, incisive, putting pressure on e5. This move probably best. And then here, I don't really like d3. I think it's inflexible. White should strike immediately with d4. But it seems like Yabatis had a plan to set up a wall against the bishop on b7. If you guys want to, for a moment, imagine that we're playing white and we're playing e4, black's playing c5, and then b3. There's a school of thought that says that black should play something like knight c6, bishop b2, e5. This was actually mentioned by like Joe Gallagher in his book called like Beating the Anti-Sicilians some 15 years ago, where it turns out that white has some crazy ideas of playing like a king's, I guess like a king's gambit. There was this master from the Ural Mountains named Alexander Reprintsev, and he lived in Washington, D.C. Now he's back in Russia, but he used to play this like with white. Some crazy King's Gambit mix. But that's another story. Like, you're a tempo up, Yabatis' opponent is trying to do the b3 Sicilian with the black pieces, a tempo down. So you don't have as many options. He does d6. That looks a little squishy. A lot of white square weaknesses, but not so easy to exploit it. Here, d3, bishop b7, and then what did we do now? e4. Okay, principled. You're killing the bishop on b7, essentially. But I think the breaks here are very important for both sides. When you have the fixed structure in the center, when the pawns are meeting each other like this, it's almost like an e4, e5 opening now. It is. Essentially, it's an e4, e5 opening, okay? The pawns are there. So the break is key to play f4 or to play f5. Black can't play f5. He doesn't have support to play f5. But our knight is misplaced. So black played h6. A strange and slow move. And then bishop e3. And I wasn't sure why we didn't play d4 like in the first place. You know what, though? Looking at this like the second time around, because I did look this once before, maybe black should... Yeah, Saul, exactly. I haven't seen s4 for a long time. You guys, if you see him, tell him to show up over here. But maybe black should bite the bullet and play c5. This didn't occur to me till now, but I mean, it's still white as breaks with like b4. But if you're going to play bishop e3, maybe black should really shut it down. It just gets really bogged down after that. There's a case to be made for having played d4 right away. Bishop e3, knight e7, now d4. Better late than never. And in the closed position, the tempo probably doesn't matter that much. Nils says, my mom is going nuts. I'm probably going to go to Canada for half a year. Wow. That's That's, I'm sorry to hear that. It's cold up there. No, I'm just kidding, man. I guess that's a good thing. So d4, knight d7, bishop d3. I don't know about this. Classical King's Indian. It looks like White's playing the classical King's Indian. But he does need to take care of the pawn on e4. Queen c2, I think I like the best, with options of castling queenside in some positions. So Turkey Farm, you're not in Canada, are you? Are you in Canada? I didn't realize that. Okay. Knight d7, bishop d3, g5. Well, welcome to the f5 square. This fly I'm grabbing on the screen is impossible. You are in Canada, okay. So g5, I keep thinking you're like in the United States. It's the same thing, just, you know, you don't have like a crazy maniac as president. Alright, so g5 is weakening the f5 square. I don't know. It doesn't look very flexible. I think I like g6 better here for black. Just doing a kind of hippo with g6, bishop g7. So g5. This gives some white something to grab onto with h4. Queen e2. Grab him by the g-pawn. I just couldn't help myself. Don't forget that, alright? Queen e2. Knight g6. Ever been to the Netherlands? Cold here as well, that's true. You're probably on a geographic parallel with like Canada. Okay, knight g6. g3. I like g3. You guys like to joke about grabbing by the g-pawn. I think that's why JCS is laughing. I like it too. But seriously, you'll see a little bit later on. g3, excellent move, stopping knight f4. Here, and then d5. I like this, just shutting down the bishop on b7. It's like a bad Queen's Indian. I played the hippo a lot with black guys. The black side of the English defense, where it's like a hippo, and you do some funky double fianchetto, and then your bishop gets smothered with d5, and all you can do is like crawl back to c8, and just pray that somehow the bishop can get back into the game from c8. That's kind of what's happening here. But the thing that I want to say acerbate, the thing that Yabatis didn't do, which I thought he should do here, is just crack him. Grab him by the g-pawn. Grab him by the g-pawn, play h4, and then, I mean, I think he literally has to play f6. It's gross, and it's horrible, but I think that black literally has to do this to create the ultimate pawn on g7, just to try to not give in, you know? Just not give in. Because if you play g4, either knight move, I guess here or here, and what's going to happen is, eventually, it's just f3, and you just crack them. I mean, there's going to be problems for black no matter what happens. I think we looked at this. It's probably the best try, but I don't like black's position after something like bishop g5. It looks like he's gonna fold. He's gonna get cracked on the king side. My greatest win ever was the black side of hippo against Alexander Onishuk, and he tried to crack my king side. He tried to crack my king side with h4, but against Onishuk, you know, I didn't play g5. You know, he was like doing h4 against my g6. G5 is something I'm not in a hurry to play as black in the hippo. So anyway, guys, queen c2. I wasn't sure. He's just stopping f5, and then Yabatis starts maneuvering, and I think this square on f5 is key. You've got the threat of bishop h3. Black should play like c6, try to create some counterplay along the c file. He doesn't do that. He just plays what? g4. Knight d2, good move. h5, bishop e2. Can't really make up our mind here, but he's stopping h4. Now knight e7. And then b4. And black could have played a5. And it would have been like a bayonet attack King's Indian. A5, B takes A5, Rook takes A5, Knight B3, and then you're going to play for A4, A5. Black cannot keep the lines closed forever. And unfortunately for him, it's going to open up one day. Yeah, the hippos are like the toughest animals, you know, the most dangerous animal on earth. The vizilo in Hungarian, water horse. But this is the deformed hippo. This deformed hippo with the, you know, his front side is like overextended. That's not what you want. You know, you want the pawn back on G6. So knight F8. Yeah, I mean here Yabatis could have just put him away with C5. I think this is like strategically. It's a King's Indian. It's just a horrifying and terrible King's Indian. Yabatis was a little bit sleepy. He gave him a reprieve, respite, if you want, with Knight B3. But it's hard to prevent this. Black goes back to D7. He should go back to D7. He's doing nothing, dancing his knights around, and then bang. I mean, this is just a good King's Indian, guys. And now Black needs to like move his queen and probably pull the bishop back to C8 and just pray that you know, he can play without a bishop, basically. This was good. This was good. And now the only chance, I think, is Queen D8 and bishop back to C8. But the space advantage for white is basically decisive. But this is horrible. Now you can't have your bishop go back to A8, so he literally has to sack a piece here. And it's terrible. It's terrible for Black, but he gets a couple pawns, and I think Yabatis played he rushed a little bit here. You could probably just castle calmly, play Knight A5, kind of increase the positional advantage. He was a little too hasty, let's say. And then Black started to get kind of a scary pawn formation that controls a lot of squares. It's actually hard for white to make progress. So at one point in the upcoming part of the game, pressure on the C file, basically Black gets lucky here, and Yabatis misses Knight E7. So he had like Knight C5 check. I think the thing about this move that's easy to miss, like after D takes C, Rook takes, you know, you don't actually have to worry about Rook B1 check because you have Bishop D1. It's possible Yabatis like saw this and then like didn't realize he has Rook, you know, Bishop D1 or something like that. This would have led to a winning position for white. But after this, he blundered. He played castles and then Knight E7, and then white loses the pawn on D5. White is actually not clearly winning, I think, after this. Black has a lot of counterplay. Rook takes A6, Knight takes D5. It's only 2 pawns for a piece, and these pawns, I mean, this pawn chain is so healthy and dangerous that I think that Black has legitimate chances here. So in the game, this was a weird move. I mean, maybe he should just take this bishop on E3, here, here, here. Still, it's very hard for white to make progress. I would be terrified if this was my game, especially in blitz or something, that, hey, I messed this up. I'm probably not winning. You know, there just aren't enough pawns. We have difficulty breaking through against that strong pawn chain. Then Black makes a terrible mistake. He plays like, okay, Knight C6, here, here, here. Still, he's fine. Bishop D8, he's holding. Again, I challenge you to win this position. It's not that easy. Not that easy for white. It's only 2 pawns for a piece, but the black pawns are very tough. Theoretically, white should be able to win with the outside pawn, but hard to organize that. Hey, Bob, what's up? Then King D5, and you'll see, very bad move now. You got this pawn chain here after Rook C3. The black pawn chain is very fluid. And by having the fluid pawn chain, it creates really no outpost squares for the white pieces. But he makes a terrible mistake now. He plays this move, E4. And by playing E4, the pawns become inflexible. And now there's like these outpost squares for the white pieces, the knight and the bishop. And this really led to black's demise. King F1 here. And now the thing is, this square and this square and this square, these outpost squares create problems for black. Yabatis did a very brilliant thing a little bit later down the line, you'll see here, because I've already seen this game. He trades off the powerful bishop, and then here he reaches a position, he improves his king, and this is a brilliant move. He sacks the piece back. And that's something that you really have to think about in chess, giving back the material in exchange of advantages. And this is actually a winning position for white after knight takes c5. In all variations, black is fried here. He actually didn't take. He was scared of getting mated in a lot of lines. Like in some lines, he actually gets mated, like in this position. He's going to lose like all of his stuff basically here. Check. That's a beautiful position. I love this. I love this mate here with rook g7. Just for example, cute. But a nice job by Yabatis giving the material back. And the dude doesn't even take it. He was so afraid. He did like this. And white's just winning now. Up a piece. And I think it's kind of like a matter of technique here at this point. Driving the king back. Good job. The outpost squares. And then black's going to fold up here. He didn't last too much longer. Lost all his pawns. Overall, it was a good game. I think there's a lot of little points you can improve. But overall, good effort. So Yabatis had a good tournament. He won all of his games in this event. Okay, 93, good game. Black resigned. So let's close that down and go to our next game. Guys, again, thank you for subscribing to the stream. We're just going through games the subscribers submitted. So Merle is up next. Thanks again to Dim and Merle and Percy Hepworth as well. Thank you guys. Please support the stream with donations if you can. These guys were very generous. Dim, Merle, Dixon, over 500 bits this week. Thanks so much, guys. Good game, Spectacular Camel. That was Yabatis, the last game. So could you please comment on the game in Chapter 4 of my study? I'd mainly like to know what the player with the black pieces could have done better. Guys, I'm International Master William Pascal. This is my subscriber stream, and we're going over games submitted by my subscribers here on lichess and Twitch. I'm asking for a friend. Okay. So, Merle the Zombie Killer. Your help is greatly appreciated. This is game 4, so you're asking for a friend. Chapter 4 of my study. The player with the black pieces could have done better. Okay, reading comprehension is my strong point. We're looking at Hippie Gangster. Playing against Wily Master 2500? Whoa. Are these actual ratings, or is this like made up names and ratings? These are made up names? Maybe not. I don't know. Is Hippie Gangsta a real person? Wily Master 2500 exactly? Are these ratings for real? Okay, it's not my business. Anyway, we're looking for black here. So knight f3, d5, d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3. Is this like a game I played or something with white? This is looking like something I would have played against Merle Dixon. Made up names. Real ratings. This isn't one of our games, is it, Merle? You said you're asking for a friend, but your friend is playing the exact same sort of system that you play. Okay, so it's not one of our games. 97 e3. I mean, I would have played the same way with white typically. And you would have played the same way as black. Although maybe you play h6. I mean, castles is the main move here. But there has been a trend for this h6. Kramnik has played it. You've played it. Spectacular Camel. Yeah, it was a very impressive game. You have a ton of talent. That's JCS's words. So c6. I'm just trying to think, guys. Black has played c6. I mean, I've been trying queen c2 in similar positions. You see that's a very common move. Rook c1. It's not a Capablanca variation, though, because black hasn't castled yet, and white hasn't played rook c1. Normally, black would castle earlier here. This is kind of a strange move order. So bishop d3. He could try to take on c4 and play b5 like a kind of semi-Slav idea. h6. No really known names here except for Alexeyev, but that was in 2000. I mean, he was like a baby. So bishop h4, knight h5. Okay, so this is a very extreme idea played by my friend Vladimir Burmakin. We sometimes play blackjack together in Slovenian casinos. Knight h5 here. It's very early to do this, but I understand black's intention, just the forced exchanges of pieces. Burmakin managed to win against 2290, but I mean, this is really like the kind of variation you would essentially play for a draw. But Burmakin has good technique. Okay, bishop takes e7, queen takes e7. Looks... The other option for white is not a joke, though. You can play bishop g3. I think this is a legitimate option. Knight takes g3, h takes g3. See here, there's a game Korobov versus Erdos from 2011, and another game by Gormley against Grant. So I think this is a very legitimate option. Gormley, of course, following the Mark Hebden school of chess. Hebden plays d4. He likes to play the white side of the queen's gambit. Good buddies, those guys. I don't know which is better. So take, queen e2. Interesting choice. You know, you typically debate between these squares. White is thinking about castling kingside, queenside with g4s. Bayonet attack, basically. Difficult to say. He goes back preventing g4. Okay. The white played a3 now. But that move feels wrong. It's not a bad move, but it's not very incisive. You could go postal with g4. You gotta consider g4. What would Hikaru do? You know, the old Hikaru. There is a problem here, though. Knight takes g4, rook g1, f5. When the queen defends laterally, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. And maybe this is just baloney. You know, maybe this doesn't even work. It's very, very weird. Like here, and try to play here with a fork on g6. Black has knight f8. I mean, maybe black can just defend in every line. It's kind of scary. I mean, even this looks like an idea, but you could just kick him out. So I don't know. You know, it's interesting ideas with g4, but I don't see anything clear. Here is weird. It's like slow, kind of lame. Black really ought to just make a fundamental move at this point. Castle. I mean, a3 seems sort of stupid if you're going to castle queenside. That just weakens the queenside. So I say black just bites the bullet and castles here. I mean, maybe e4 though leaves white with an advantage. Maybe that is a problem. Come to think of it, why not just play e4 straight away? E4, pawn takes e4, knight takes e4. Okay, there is a problem there. That's why he did a3. He's thinking about that ramification. Looks like he's setting up e4 with a3. Black decides to take here, giving up the center, but a typical move. And then he plays c5. That wouldn't be my first idea, but I don't know. What do we want to do here? Can we do just castles or something? This was Wily Master's idea, I guess. Wily Coyote. What if we take here and then we play like Semislav? Now we go here. I like this better. Okay, the bishop's pretty good, but black's gonna carve out the dark square. Yeah. Yeah. I think we ought to wait to take on c4 until you try to play e4. And then we play this. There is a problem, though. Let's look. If we were to castle, white would play e4. We take here. White takes, bishop takes. e5. There's this move with the double threat of this and this, which is another semi-Slav trick. But maybe that's not a problem because black can just like take on d4. And even knight g6 is not that scary. This knight is hanging. That could become like a complicated situation. I'm not really sure. Though maybe it's good for white. I mean, this is going to take a whole rook. So that's worthy of looking at, guys. Very complicated. Take c5. I don't think this quite equalizes. And I don't know if I like taking on c5 here for white. That seems kind of lame. It seems like white should maintain the tension, maintain IQP position. But I guess he's going to bust out with b6, bishop b7 eventually. Feels kind of lame. Very typical Merle Dixon. It's safe, though. It's safe for white. White has no danger. Queen takes. I don't like b4. I don't like b4. Like, what does this do? I mean, how does that improve white's position? Because you're going to play this or something later on? Definitely wouldn't play b4. And it seems like the black queen should come back to a sensible location. b4 is debatable. It feels like it's unnecessarily weakened white's position. Here, an interesting move, very Merle Dixon style. KG, castle, castle, FD1. This is the only move I really don't like. I don't know what that achieved, other than weakening the knight on c3. And I don't see white having any advantage at all anymore. There is no advantage. Like bishop d7. Kramnikian. Chess, challenge me. Sorry, not taking challenges now. The best move is apparently knight to d6. White played this. It looks harmless enough. Now if I'm black, as I told move 11 many times, open files are very important. So rather than play a6, I feel like it put our pawns on the wrong color. One should just take control of the open file here. So I like this move. I mean, maybe we could think about rook fca, king centralization in the endgame, prospects of a5 break. But I'm really seriously considering my queen having to retreat back to b8 in some lines here. Alright, so we got a6. I think an unnecessarily passive move, putting the pawns on the wrong color for black. Here, knight f3, queen h5, here, here. Boring. Uh-oh. Bishop a4, luckily. That buys us a little bit of time. We didn't have that move, we might be worse. Here. That's a good move. He wants to go here, right? The file again. Now for rook c8, rook c3. Black is worse. Does this help? What's happening here? Knight f5, uh-oh. All these squares suddenly getting squishy. So we got to be careful around here. Is it possible we've got a problem? And if we do, it all started with a6. Soltigo's not been feeling well. Cash Maui. Hopefully he'll be back. But I know he's got a really bad problem with his foot at the moment. Some health ailments. So bishop a4, rook d3, e5 here. I'm a little concerned, but you've got this move, okay? That's good. We traded some pieces, but the knight remains very strong. White has back rank problem. Black does not, though. That's probably enough to hold the balance. Here, here. Yeah, now this move, I think my inclination would be to play rook d7 to dominate the knight there. Black's holding on. This is a good move, though. That's a nice trap. Knight would get trapped on h6. Another nice trap. I'm a little bit concerned about the pawn. Active defense, guys, always. Don't forget it. Active defense. Typical Merle Dixon game. He's like a machine. He's unbeatable. This is just a draw. Shake hands and agree to a draw, guys. Okay, good game. Let's see what's up, guys. We've got what we got on the clock, 6:10. So I've got to finish in about 40 minutes. We've got Nefedov, Move 11, Mr. Coffee, Tushar. So 4 games remaining, 50 minutes. That's like 12 minutes per game. Let's get it done. Guys, I just want to remind everyone, normally on Fridays, that is, tomorrow is Friday, in case you don't know. Normally on Fridays, I'm doing morning streams. But I have some appointments. I cannot do the stream in the morning. We've moved to the United States. My schedule is different. I have the ability to do an afternoon stream on Fridays that I couldn't do in Budapest. So tomorrow, we're going to do 4:30, same time as today. We're going to do 4:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, just so you know. Okay? It's out of the ordinary, but I don't want to miss the stream. I don't want to cancel my stream. I'm going to move it to the afternoon, 4:30 like today. Fast Friday, 5+3 Blitz at 4:30 tomorrow EDT, just so you guys are prepared. All right, next game. Nefedov, Mr. Nefedov, Private Joker is not going to get a game today because we're doing game analysis. This is serious business, guys. Getting better at chess is not easy, and you need to put in the work and the time. Nefedov, 2 birds with 1 stone. Did I miss the win in the end? This is Nefedov versus Morales from our Rapid tournament on Tuesday. Obviously, Merle, that was Merle's alter ego playing black there. Nefedov against Morales. Try to just don't look at the graph, okay? Because it biases everything we do. Pavel is white. He's playing e4, and then black plays g6. Modern defense. Merle Dixon, thank you for the donation. Merle Dixon taking the lead in bits today with 651 for the week. Dim with 550. Percy Hepworth with 100. For the good poker read. Wait. What was the poker read? What poker read did I do? Oh, like I know it's your alter ego. We've played enough games now. You have a very distinctive style. Nefedov did what? What would possess Nefedov to play g3 against the modern defense? That is totally out of character. I don't understand, Mr. Nefedov. Experimenting, though, if you're going to experiment, online is the place to do it. g3. Bishop g7, bishop g2, e5, symmetrical whatever it is. It's like, actually reminds me of Petrosian. Petrosian had some awesome games. I've got huge collections of all of his games, like, ever recorded. Petrosian, like, my favorite games he ever played were, like, symmetrical King's Indian attacks, where both sides literally played the King's Indian attack at the same time, like, symmetrically for, like, 10 moves. That is awesome, you know, to see how Petrosian handled that. This could happen. So d3, d6, c4. c4, like, well, it was played once. No, it was played, well, we got transpositions going on. So now Nefedov is going to be playing the Botvinnik Nefedov, sorry. Botvinnik, English. Nice if they had a battle of the IMs and we could root for our favorite IM, William. Okay, yeah, like somebody was encouraging me to play like Torzo in a match or something. I mean, I will consider it. Doing like a match against somebody. So c4. Yeah, we should get a sponsored match going on. It's not typical for Nefedov. You know, he's playing a Botvinnik English here. c4. I don't like c4. You know, I mean, you don't need to play that. I mean, probably knight e2. You want to keep the f4, f5 breaks on. I mean, that's really the key point, I think, in this type of closed structure. The ability to play for f4. The question is when to play f4. Knight c3 is a very typical move. I don't think that c4 is accurate. You know, probably if you were playing like Alexander Ivanov, he would rip your face off in this position. So many times I tried to play Alexander, and like he loves to play this type of setup with black against the English. He's an expert. You know, he plays 97, and he loves to play this kind of closed position where he'll do 97 c6. Maybe you don't know where the knight's going, and the f5 just pounds you. c4 is it's like, how to describe this move. It looks like a dry tree branch to me. You know, it doesn't have a lot of dynamism behind it. Whereas black's gonna play dynamically here. Go ahead, play 97, or go ahead and play f5. But I like black. He's the first one to take the initiative here. So Sasha would bust you up. c4, it's slow. Okay, c4, knight c6, knight c3. Now we're getting closer to a pure Botvinnik English. You can see the options here. Knight e7, f5. We see Garry Kasparov there? Wait, I saw Gary something. That's weird. Not f5, knight e7. Yes, Boris Gulko against Garry Kasparov, 1995. But Gulko was a bad opponent for Kasparov. Actually, Gulko beat him like more than once. It's very funny. I mean, there's almost... I think that Gulko actually has the better score statistically than anybody against Kasparov, oddly enough. Not too many people have like a multiple wins against Kasparov in a short sample size, in a small sample size. Here, knight c3, f5, love it. Love it. Going for it. Giri, Ivanchuk. Now f4. Typically what you end up doing in these type of positions is like taking on f4, and white has to take with the piece because of h4 check stuff. Gary and Giri are different people. Yeah. Boris is one of the only people who has, you know, in a small sample size, a good score. He's also 1-0 against me. f4, knight f6 now, behind the pawn. That looks good. Here. So these type of positions are always tricky. Typically, you'd never want to make this exchange. You I think, want to normally make this exchange on f5. But you'd really rather see black move the bishop first and have to lose a tempo on recapturing on f5. I don't like releasing the tension at all here for white. I feel like f4 was natural, but it was a little early. Notice that nobody played that in like 200 games. So you got to play like 92. f4 is asking a little bit too much from your position. It's just asking too much. The bottom line is, guys, when you look at this position, it seems symmetrical, but it's not because of c4. You've actually spent a move on the broken tree branch, dry, brittle c4, which does nothing for white dynamically. You know, this move just sits there. It's like a decoration. I mean, meanwhile, black's making like all dynamic moves, developing efficiently. So c4 basically loses your opening advantage in terms of dynamic time, the dynamic time element. Your first move advantage is basically c4. You need to catch up in development. f4 opens the position. You're asking too much. Knight f6, and now f takes e5, d takes e5, and then he's got this pressure here. I don't like that very much. No, clearly you have knight d5, but it's not a permanent outpost because he can kick you out with c6. Here, what should black do? Probably knight d4. Knight d4 and c6. What do we got? Let's bust the engine on it. Peter's calling for something else here, just castles. I thought maybe this was the answer. It's not a bad move. Not a bad move, but maybe not the best. Stockfish just wants to develop quickly. Okay, let's turn this off. Knight d5. Ugh. That's a painful move from Morales there. Impatient, you know. The point is you can move your knight away from c6 and drive the knight away with c6. And then you rent to own the position. You're going to have control of d4. This is going to be a backward pawn on d3. It was a just totally, you know, impatient move. Knight takes there, pawn takes in. This improves white's position dramatically. White went from probably worse to about equal. It's still not a terrible, terrible position. Knight e2. Do we have time for this or not? Do we have time? F takes e with the threat of bishop g4. That's what he did. So Nefedov messed up now. He underestimated, I guess, the threat of this. So you should interpose this exchange first, and then white is probably not so bad. Although I still think you're not getting the castle, are you? It looks a bit awkward for the first player since we can't castle. What are we going to do? I'm not crazy about this. This is analysis variation. A little awkward. So that's the best. And then Morales just misses bishop g4. I would imagine he might have hallucinated queen a4 check was a good resource, and then, you know, maybe missed b5. I don't know. Yeah, so I learned this from the great Rumen Gingiashvili, but when the guy has a piece on your side of the board, you want to destroy it, get rid of it, and trade it off as soon as possible. Nefedov here just, you know, you got to have the sense that knight is going to hurt you. Get rid of it before it's too late. You didn't do that. You played bishop e3. And then finally Ross played this. And so now you have to trade off your guardian of the dark squares. I mean, you don't want to do that. This is not hopeless for white, but you're now in a very unpleasant situation. The black bishop on g7 just became a jolly joker. So this piece is a wild card that could do a lot of damage, and you've got a lot of weaknesses on the dark squares in this position. Morales has a huge advantage, and now you're just like kind of desperately looking for tricks or something to stay alive. I don't think that white even has a threat in this position. Bishop takes e2. Like, it's not a good idea to do this. The knight isn't hurting anyone. White can't castle queen side. White can't castle king side. What's he going to do? Knight f4? I guess Morales was afraid of knight f4 in some sense. Like, he would play that and maybe blockade the position. But the white king is trapped in the center of the board here. It just doesn't seem like there's any good reason for making this exchange. And now there's suddenly the possibility of opposite-colored bishops. Obviously, with heavy pieces, white still has a huge problem. But if we could somehow magically trade queens, suddenly white might be okay. The more we trade, the better. c6, this move is fundamentally okay, challenging the center, but it's sufficiently supported, so I don't know. Actually, Morales just blundered. He just blundered. So just take on b7, and white is clearly better now. Up a pawn on the 7th rank. That looks awful. He gives up the f file, though. Maybe there's some counterplay. Takes here. d3 check. Oh my god. Wait, how does that work? It's like a decoy. Is there a Jerry Kasparov as well? No. Just Jerry Springer. d3. Queen takes d3. Queen b6. Uh-oh. There's this. Mr. Bill. Oh no. So Morales got tricky. Suddenly he's back in the game. Rook f1. Take this here. So, needless to say, I think that at this point, it's probably a draw. Opposite-colored bishops. Despite the fact the queens are on the board, usually this type of position is just a force field of sorts. You know, black's going to set up a very, very strong blockade of this one extra pawn on the dark squares, and it should be a draw. But white has the reason to play for a win. This is clearly a draw. Oh no. Obviously, just a simply drawn position. Bishop c5 followed by blockading with the king on e7. Famous last words. Morales has some technical problem here. Trade pawns, I guess, with like h5. It's a draw. You just have to be accurate. Okay, Nefedov, so you took him down. You took him downtown, this ops-colored bishop endgame. This is, let's move forward a little bit. Skip to this part. Now Nefedov got 2 pawns. They're a little close together, though. You generally want that pawn to be like on the H file, so what's going on here? White has the right color rook pawn. That's a huge problem. The fact the queening square is on A8. Man, maybe this is just enough to win? There's no table base here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need one more piece off the board for a table base. So apparently this was losing. Bishop E7, a natural move, blockading. Wow. Wow. What is black supposed to play? I guess King E5 is the problem. But you can't stop everything here. Let's just say, for argument's sake, black played A5. Neutral move, essentially. What do we got with the engine? 1.5 is generally a draw. I don't have a table base, but I have stockfish on 1.5. That means it's a draw. But practical chances. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next game. Nefedov, okay, you deserve to win. You're up 2 pawns. It's more difficult for the opponent to save the game. Eventually, at the end, though, it looks like it was a draw. Here, and it was simply 1 pawn up, dead draw. Interesting game, though, Nefedov, but we learned a lot from that. You played F4 prematurely in a position where you've got to be restrained. The English is dangerous when they play those kind of closed setups with knight e7 and g6, and the Botvinnik setup is not very dynamic for white. You have to be particularly careful there. You spend a lot of time on c4, d3, e4, all those pawn moves, and black's more efficient, and you're just like sitting there with c4, the brittle pawn structure, and f4 was asking too much. Okay, guys, we've got 25 minutes left in the stream for today. I've got move 11, Mr. Coffee, and Tushar, so let's quickly go through these 3 last games. Move 11. This is a 5-3 game on lichess in a Con Sicilian where castles for me was a mistake. I don't understand why it seems natural. I couldn't get anything going after that. Okay, let's take a look. Move 11's improved a lot. He's been very faithful to the stream here, supported the stream as a subscriber for a long time. Sladgie, by the way, I know you're preparing the Alekhines defense for Sunday. Oh, you're actually spying on me. Preparing the Alekhines defense today. Very secret analysis. That's naughty, man. You must work for the GRU. I don't know. You say you're an accountant, but I'm not sure. Very, very good detection. No, I'm just kidding. I was analyzing some Alekhines defense with Yabatis today, actually. We're not preparing that for you. Oh, you mean preparing what? I mean flawless way of pronouncing the surname. Not the defense is black. Oh, Alyokhin. Okay, here, what do we got? E4, C5, knight F3. This is move 11. I'm sorry, move 11 is white. Con Sicilian, E6 here, takes, A6, Con Sicilian. Bishop D3, that's what I play. I mean, it's possible to play C4. It's possible to play knight C3. All these moves are good. Nefedov got me. Okay, Bishop D3, Queen C7. Well, what's up with F4 here? This is some sort of special preparation? Alyokhin. Yeah, I mean, I know that you don't normally play the English, Pavel, so you can learn a lot from that game. A lot to improve there if you want to try that kind of thing again. This is a very, very unusual move for move 11. You don't normally play F4. He was talking about castling queenside, but to be perfectly honest, it's not that typical to castle queenside in these lines of the Con Sicilian. I think there are certain variations in the Bishop C5, Knight B3. This is like the classical line. Here, Knight C3, let's say, for example, these type of variations where you can play like Queen E2 I don't know, d6, bishop e3 or whatever, and castle queenside, it's really possible to castle either side. I had a game with like Muzichuk. I probably pronounced that wrong. Anna, I remember in the first Saturday, but I always kind of preferred to castle kingside. Some people prefer to castle queenside, but in this is a different variation. Black's playing queen c7 here right away. Like the most common move is castle straight up, and then queen e2, c4. I mean, what are you gonna do? Queen e2 probably. That's what I would play, or that or castle immediately. So in these lines, the Consicilian typically move 11. You're not really trying to castle queenside. This f4 is quite unusual, but interesting, and it might even be effective at kind of throwing your opponent off his prepared variations. So Emesis, thank you for the donation. 35 bits from Emesis. Bishop c5 now. Got some rare games. Knight f3 is worth considering. I would seriously think about this. It's almost like a Najdorf with f4. The problem with the move is that knight b3 gains time. Knight b3 hits his valuable bishop. Knight f3 just like hands over the tempo to black. So unfortunately, we probably have to go here. You're not going to be castling kingside now traditionally, though maybe queen e2, play bishop e3, and then you can still castle kingside. Wow. So there's a couple of games, Felitar, Coleman, and Lazic. This turns out to be a good move. That's something to keep in mind, move 11. I mean, this is not a new idea. This is played in a lot of these Consicilian bishop d3 lines where the bishop leaves. Queen g4 is particularly strong, like against, in our main line positions. Not queen c7, but if we go bishop c5 right away, like this line, the modern bishop e7, queen g4, this is considered to be main line, kind of like inducing black to weaken his king side to play g6 or whatever. So keep that queen g4 in mind, because in this position you could have used it in a very similar way. f4 here, knight b3, bishop a7, and now queen g4, provoking weaknesses in the black king side. Best move. You played knight c3. The other is like queen e2. I mean, this is a standard move to support bishop e3. Challenge the bishop on a7. And enable yourself to castle kingside. There. October Festival. d6 is kind of passive. Queen g4 is still strong. This is fine, though. Queen e2. Black plays... Knight f6 is more active. He plays this, so he's playing kind of passively. And now bishop e3, of course. b5. Yeah, so... I mean, at the end of the day, you've almost transposed to like a normal line where you just played f4 early, but it's a move you would oftentimes play later on after, say, castling kingside. So actually, castling queenside is not totally crazy here, but it's much more common to castle kingside in these type of lines. I have a friend, he's a FIDE master, Bill Kelleher. He I would see occasionally try to castle long in those type positions, but I mean, I think this is much more standard. You castle short, you put your king on h1, and the Michael Adams approach to king safety. This is risky because he's played b5. Of course, you're kind of castling into a sort of advanced attack here. b4. Your knight doesn't have a great square. Knight b1. Castles here. Yeah, of course. Bouncing back, but I think this looks problematic. His a-pawn advancing looks seriously problematic. You're going to have to play king b1 and prepare to bring that knight back to c1. Here. I mean, g4, do you really have an attack here? I would probably play king b1 and give myself a fallback for that guy. But I don't think g4 is a realistic move. I mean, you got to have a million moves. I mean, what are you going to do? g4, g5, h4, h5. I mean, you literally need like 10 moves in a row to do some kind of kingside attack. And your king is in the line of fire over here. I think g4 is unrealistic. Bishop b5, that's a strange move, but he wants to open the a file. So, okay. Again, I think prophylaxis should take precedent here, and king b1. f5, interesting move. You've got f6. You might have something there. So apparently he should just go, let's see, a5 maybe. I mean, I'm concerned that this might actually be something. f6, getting the queen in there, and then trying to checkmate black might be a real thing. That does look kind of ominous. I mean, the computer's saying like e5, but is it really sure about this? Because this looks a bit scary. I mean, you'd think you'd be able to get black on h7 somehow here. Let's get Leela chess on this position. I mean, the black king side does look pretty toasty. You'd think there'd be a way in there. We'll have to sick Leela on the position. I don't know. But move 11 didn't make a lot of prophylactic moves in this game. That move looks dangerous. Hello, G file. Straight lines, please. f6. Yeah, we don't want to see the satanic knight on e6. Here, a5. Feels kind of late with the a5, doesn't it? Like, that idea should have been played about 6 moves ago. That's got to go. Now we got another knight. Uh-oh. Are we just in trouble now? So, move 11 is basically on defense here. He's probably okay. Oh. Greedy. Greedy. He's trying for more. So you should just like play knight takes e5 and try to fight for a draw, I guess. After this move, black missed the win. After a4, I mean, I don't know what you do. Can't really stay around, so you have to play here, let's say, and then b3. Phew, this is brutal. Threatening this. I think you're lost here. You have to play a3. Pawn takes c2. The white king is coming under fire first. It would have been very, very bad. So you're lucky that he traded queens. Although typically the endgames are usually better for black in the Sicilian, his structure is kind of messed up with the pawn there. So I think in this case you were rather lucky. 96. So 96. Here. 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 You drop that pawn. You got a pawn on g7. What about the other captures? So knight takes g7. What's going on? Rook g8. I thought, oh, you have knight f3 problem. You can't play this. So you literally can't play knight takes g7. You have to play rook takes g7. This is very awkward. Move 11 lost. He lost control. He lost control of the position. Ouch. What is that? Whoa. Alright. Good enough. Okay, guys, we have just a little bit of time left, so I'm going to get through these last 2 games. We got Mr. Coffee and Tushar. Mr. Coffee, okay, what is this? Here. So, this is a subscriber game. It says 10/18. That is today. Alright. Mr. Coffee, wait, he made a message. Oh, man, I got to read things. Game 1 versus Dandyman. It's an opening that doesn't get played against me that often, so it might be interesting. Again, not a high priority. Just if you run out of games. Okay. Game 1 against Dandyman. We're finally getting some viewers here, guys. We're going to be back tomorrow, Friday night, for a special stream at 4:30. Normally I do mornings on Fridays. We're doing afternoon, 4:30 EDT. Fast Blitz tomorrow for everybody. Open challenges 5+3 at 4:30 EDT. Don't forget, guys. Okay, let's check this out against Dandyman. Mr. Coffee against Dandyman. Unusual opening, he said. So d4, knight f6, bishop f4. Well, that's not unusual. The freaking London system. I mean, I would quit chess if this was played on me any more often than it already is. Mr. Coffee gets spicy with c5 here. That's like literally the sharpest move, dude. Wow. The problem with this is, okay, first of all, there's the Simon Williams variation. He suggests like to play it like a Trompowsky with white, and I don't know what to call this. This isn't a London system anymore. Whatever it is, it's something else. So there's that possibility. You've got to be prepared for that. Mr. Coffee, I would recommend for you, and for myself and for most people, try to play like a Queen's Indian type of formation with e6 and then maybe c5 a little bit later on, or e6 and b6. But the c5 right away, it's a little sharp. There is a problem here. He plays e3, you play queen b6 now. This variation is super tricky, and there's a lot of people who are like experts with white. They can play knight a3 and knight c3. I literally had a game against some Russian IM on an internet chess site a few years ago, I remember, where they just had this all like memorized. Knight a3, queen takes b2, and I was just like, no clue what I'm doing. You know, knight b5. There is a crazy line here, and this guy had it like all memorized, 20 moves deep. I had looked at it with the computer. I thought, okay, this is cool. Yeah, knight d5. You know, this is okay, but it's not really. It's actually, look at these crazy games. Kamsky, Ivanchuk. There's Anton Giharo, some other games. So this is playable, but it's like not worth it, you know, to learn some kind of crazy variation 20 moves deep so you can take a poison pawn on b2. Now, I don't want anything to do with this. Don't play this. Don't play this. It's too dangerous. The knight c3 actually may not be as good because it gives black more options, it seems like. I guess you could play a6 here. This actually, here's Gawain Jones and Vovk. I think that knight a3 is actually better than knight c3, oddly enough. But a lot of people don't realize that. So, Mr. Coffee, don't play queen b6. Play like e6 and something solid for black. This is fine. You can always play d5, but my personal preference is to go for e6. All right, just follow Grandmaster Kosic had a game. Let's see, Kosic was probably white in that game. He plays both colors. All right, queen b6, yeah. Knight c3, so luckily you didn't play knight a3. Now you need to play a6. Instead you took on d4. Okay. Knight b5 isn't a move, is it? In this position? This is messed up. That's funny. You could allow that. That's a wild variation, dude. Look at this line. Knight c7 check, king d8. This is awesome. But I would save this for my postal chess games. No, let's not do that. Okay, e takes d4. Oh, he did play this. Oh my god. That's crazy. He actually played this knight b5. So apparently, yeah, there's all those lines with d takes e3. That's hard to find over the board. I would have done the same thing as you, playing d6. You also have this move, though, you could consider as an alternative. It might not be that bad. Don't forget that you have this resource with knight d5. It's like a safe defensive c7. Chess quack. This move is actually playable. Alright, that would be the safer way to deal. You've got d6. I guess this isn't so bad either. Knight b5 turns out to be kind of a cheap shot here. So e d4, and then you play bishop d7. What to play here? I don't know what the best move is. Hard to call, isn't it? You're going to snap that pawn on b2. Wait a second. So bishop d7 is just good. He needs to play a4. He found it, because if knight c3, it's just like munching on the pawn on b2. Oh, maybe bishop d2 isn't so bad. Okay, this is kind of weird. It's it's a Win Nok Tronkson, Trompowsky Gambit or something. But you just go back and you do guerrilla warfare. It's like guerrilla warfare. You just take the pawn and run away. Come back and shoot another missile a little bit later on. Now a4 is a good move, and now a5 is just inflexible. You can't leave his knight with that monster outpost on b5. I don't care about any other feature of the position. This move cannot be played. This knight is too strong. It's just in there forever. You don't want to do that. So a5 is awful. You must not play that. I don't care if you play queen d8, you know. Not a great move, but you must not play a5. a6 you suggested. Yeah, a6, okay, a5. For example, queen d8, knight c3. Here, Mr. Coffee gives a line with advantage to black, but it seems a little bit strange. Hold on a second. Okay, so Mr. Coffee, knight c6 isn't so bad. I guess this is a5 pawn is just gonna fall. I don't know if we can take that pawn though. That looks kind of weird. A little bit awkward to try to take the pawn on a5. Okay, going back, a5 is a very bad move. Got in bad shape here. Chess Quack, good to see you. Yeah, sorry it's not like a tournament or something you can play in here today. We need some more strong players in my Tuesday tournaments. I am going to be streaming from the United States, though. Maybe the time zone will suit you. Good to see you. Knight f3, g6. So Mr. Coffee tries to set up a kingside fianchetto, but this is a nightmare. Literally, knight on b5. Very bad. Castles, knight c6, c3. Castles here. Yes, and now bishop g4. So he can just move his knight somewhere. That's passive, though. He probably has another option out here. Even pulling the bishop back. Knight e1 is ugly. You don't want to pull that back. Good move, Mr. Coffee. Now the knight on b5, almost not a big deal. It looks like here you've got knight d5. This is a good move, sir. You need to counter that bishop on e3. You need to take him out. You're okay after this knight d5. But after the text move, now you just have a bad structure. Now you're just worse. But he takes with the pawn. It just makes you slap your hand on your head when you see a move like this. It's just a tragedy. I mean, knight takes here. I guess Mr. Coffee might still have knight d5 here. But there's knight takes c6. It doesn't quite work. Wait as this. Alright. Anyway, Mr. Coffee. So, he takes with the pawn. Man. Totally ruins his whole position. And now it's fine. It's anybody's game. You've got a counter knight on b4, basically. Bishop h6, no sweat. You're actually winning a pawn on d4, possibly. You do take it. Good job. Not afraid of ghosts. Takes here. King takes looks fine. That's what you did. Now you're a pawn up. Difficult to convert. I mean, your extra pawn is like an Isolani here, so white will always have some chances. And things got a little complicated. Definitely a good idea to try to trade queens rather than going to murky complications with queen takes. Here, here, here. What is that, man? That's a heck of a square for a queen, guys. So, guys, we're going to take a look at one more game here. Bishop e2. Mr. Coffee dominating here after a very bad opening with knight on b5. He got control. He won a pawn. Kind of took total control of the position. And, I don't know. Looks really good. Rook on the 7th. Pawn up. Wow, you have knight e3. Nice job. This is crushing. Knight f4. What's the best here? Rook e4 according to the computer. Difficult move to find, so you just played knight takes f1. That ends up simplifying. Ends up simplifying quite a bit, actually. Tricky, though. Queen takes f4, f takes e3. There's no obvious move. This is really impossible to find. That's a computer move. You do here. Knight takes e2. Actually, wait. So knight takes f1. You have an intermezzo? Rook takes? You did that. So rook takes e2. Why is this so good? We're just up several pawns in an endgame. We win a second pawn on b2. I'm surprised how big the computer's advantage is here. It doesn't look that crushing. Like +3. So you tried this. This makes sense. And now it's just too many pawns. He could have defended better, but he did not. Queen check there. You had queen e5. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. You had queen e5. That's a sweeter move. More forcing. Here. Another pawn. Mate at 9. Now it's... The white king is not safe. Clearly. One of many mates. Okay, good game. Last game, guys, from Tushar. I'm going to quickly take a look at this. Tushar likes to submit extremely long games. I think he likes to get his money's worth or something. What is this? 1 hour ago. Okay. I'm just going to go through this really quickly. I've only got 9 minutes to take a look at Tushar's game. He was the last one to submit. Tushar is black here. Guys, don't forget tomorrow night, 4:30 p.m. We're going to do fast blitz 5+3. Tushar is black. Bishop f5. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I like bishop f5. I also like c6. I think it's a fine move here. That's the main move. But the idea is to play bishop f5. Inaccurate move order. You should really play c6 here, Tushar. I guess e6 is okay too. But I prefer c6. I won a game against Kashashvili in like 20 moves years ago with c6. That's kind of a book recommendation. So white could maybe try to play c4. That's why I like c6 better. Kind of shut out c4. c4 would be like sort of dubious gambit here, I think, for white. e6, castles, now bishop d6. That's a strange placement. Seems like the bishop belongs on e7 here. It's like a stone wall, essentially. Well, maybe bishop f4, something like that. Seems like the bishop is okay here, but at the same time, white might have bishop f4. That's a strong positional idea. Stupak versus Raprincev, 2015. I was just mentioning that guy, the b3 Sicilian guy. So queen b6, yep. c5. Now we go into an endgame. Takes, takes. Bishop c7, b4. And there's no time for a6. So Tushar's drifted into basically what is like a typical structure where white has small advantage. You can't stop b5. This is not great. White has an edge. h5 is a crazy move. Where's the Pondas? Hello, don't do that. No, h5 is not a good idea. Not a good idea. Now white is just clearly better. There's no attack here with the queens off the board. Tushar is just playing crazy. h5 then castles. This is horrible. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Actually, very instructive play by white. Maybe even b4, b5. Another b pawn. He goes after the base. So Tushar is lost. Well, almost lost. I mean, strategically lost. I didn't know he had knight b8. I pronounced him dead too early. No, this move, okay. Honestly, I mean, rook a6. What about this? Is this too slow? Here, black could stop him with a6. Interesting. So, rook a6 was a good move. Forcing the awkward knight b8, and then back here. Wow, rook a4, highly accurate. Knight d7. Black would have to take a draw, of course, but Tushar is playing for a win with a5. Again, bishop f4, very strong positional move for white. Does not do it. Plays b4, and now here, b5. We have a powerful pawn there on c5. So apparently, black has this amazing move, knight e4. And it's unlike Tushar to miss that, because he's usually all about tactics. It's kind of a lucky resource, though. I mean, if you don't have that, you're just, like, lost strategically. And he took on b5, so this is ugly. This protected pass pawn on c5, stronger than the outside pawn there. Very long game, though, guys. Here, bishop d2. It looks like black is losing. He plays this. This was a good judgment, I think, to give up the bishop in a closed structure in terms of time. Good judgment by white. He actually played this game really well. The knight's in the closed position, closed structure. These bishops not so good. Good defensively, but not really offensively. So Tushar was lucky. He was under a lot of pressure here. This 2191 guy. Yeah, he gets out of the pin, though, putting up some resistance, and then e4. Difficult for white to win, though, admittedly. Knight takes f5, e takes f5, knight f1, very hard plan to find. Here, e4. He just simplifies. And now we've got like an ops color bishop position that's basically slightly better for white. This is still a strong piece or pawn on c5. And white maybe could try to sack an exchange with rook takes c5. But he's got to be careful. He could actually be losing if he does that as well. It might be too risky. So it's a draw, probably slightly better for white. Pushes the pawn forward. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Very risky to advance the pawn too far. Here, here, here. Again, it's still a draw. Now it's like definitely a draw. Massive simplification. One pawn each. We can shake hands here. I don't know. The computer's claiming a big advantage for white, but I think it's kind of exaggerated. I mean, rook a3, bishop b4, rook f3, rook c7. It seems like it should be a draw, no? Here, 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 and then here. Oh my god. GWB. That's evil. He's got rook takes f7. Oh my gosh. And then c7. So there is a danger here for black. At the end of the day, when you think it's a draw, man, oh man. He plays this, bishop e5, and staying on this diagonal. That probably holds. Now it's really a draw. Blockade. Okay, guys. I'm going to close it down here. This should have been a draw. Tushar ended up winning. But we saw the most important part of the game. He really messed up the opening. I think I like c6 better than e6. But Tushar should have played it in a way that didn't allow white to break with b4, b5. h5 was a crazy move. And he was actually lucky not to lose. Okay, guys. Tomorrow night, it's going to be 4:30 p.m. So it's EDT, USA Eastern Time, EDT. We're going to do 4:30 p.m. Fast Blitz here at lichess. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. International Master William Pascal, this was my analysis stream. Thanks, everybody, for subscribing. And again, we're going to be using an unusual time tomorrow night, Friday, 4:30 p.m. And we might do that for the next couple of weeks. So again, guys, thank you for watching and subscribing. I'm going to tune out now, and I will see you tomorrow night as well. Thanks, everybody, for subscribing. Thanks for supporting the stream. Merrill Dixon, up to 651 bits. Dim, 550. And Emesis with 101. Thank you guys for supporting the stream. We'll see you tomorrow night. And from the Pandas, bye-bye. And from the Micro Panda, bye-bye. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.